Hey guys, for those of you that don't know me, I have been a challenger player since set 3, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you guys a concise explanation on how to play in patch 14.6b if you want to climb. So the meta has actually changed pretty drastically in the last few days. The meta right now is a very reroll and fast 9 heavy meta. The reason why the meta is like this is due to a combination of these three things: encounters, augments, and portals. A lot of these give you a ton of econ, making getting to 9 and rerolling for 3 stars a lot more consistent. What this means is if you're only rolling for a level 8 comp and capping out around 4 cost units, you are almost always going to get outscaled and bot 4. I think the game plan for the current meta is if you're playing like a strong board win streak opener, you generally want to slight roll a little bit at 3-2 if you have a lot of pairs, and slight roll at 4-2 just to save some HP, and then go straight to 9 and play around Hui, Azir, Wukong, Irelia, and Rakan. These units are by far the strongest late game units right now. And if you're not playing a reroll comp, you almost always want to try to angle towards these units because you're just going to bot 4 if you don't get them. Alternatively, if you have like a very weak low roll opener, you have the option of easily 5 loss streaking into 3-2 or 8 loss streaking into 3-5 and playing around one of these reroll comps. These reroll comps are a very good way to convert a guaranteed 8th into something like a 5th or even a 2nd. The two strongest reroll comps right now are going to be Aphelios and Bard. I will say though that the current meta, I think it's pretty beginner unfriendly. The reason why is because I think that both reroll comps and fast 9 comps are pretty unintuitive to play for a newer player. An example I could give you is like, for example, if a newer player is trying to play like Reroll Gnar, they might just look up like the comp at level 6 and then they see those 6 units. They go, okay, I need to go 6 and then slow roll above 50 gold for these 6 units. In my opinion, if that's all you're doing to play around this reroll comp, you're basically playing the reroll comp at probably only 60% of its true potential. For reroll comps, they're all tempo comps by default. The reason why they're a tempo comp is because they rely on you being strong during stages that other players are weak. Like, for example, if you're playing fast 9, generally you're econing all the way up until like level 8 or 9 and you're slight rolling, so you're going to be weak between stages 2 to 4. Reroll comps rely on you spiking at these specific points where other players are weak to maintain a 5 win streak. This 5 win streak here is super important because it gets you the gold you need for late game to go for Gnar 3 and Senna 3. So for example, if you're playing the Gnar reroll comp, generally the game plan is you lose streak between stage 2 to 3. You get that extra streak money, you roll down for a stable board and you win streak all of here. And then this is when some level 8 players start outscaling you. So you generally lose a little bit of HP here, hit the Gnar 3 and Senna 3 here. And after you hit this, you need to win streak all the way from stage 5 to 6 to be able to push to level 8. And that will guarantee you the top 4. And that's what I mean by a tempo comp, and that's why I think that reroll comps are like kind of unintuitive for newer players. Same thing for playing fast 9 boards. I think a lot of players struggle trying to go 9, and the reason why is because they don't really have a good grasp on econ fundamentals. Fast 9 comps are all about saving HP and econ. What this means is playing very strong gold efficient units, like 1 cost units, which are extremely easy to hit at level 3. You generally probably do not want to level to 4 at stage 2-1 unless you have like multiple 2-star 1 costs, because if you level to 4, the odds of you hitting a 2-star 1 cost gets lower because the odds of you hitting a 1 cost unit is lower. Your game plan when you're trying to go fast 9 is you want to play around all the 2-star 1 cost units, because even if you play like a random 3 cost, the odds of you hitting this 2-star 3 cost is extremely low. A lot of the time, it's way better to just play like a random 2-star Sivir, 2-star Garen, 2-star Strax, instead of holding on to these random ass Bards, random ass Alawis. And because these units are so cheap and strong and gold efficient, you don't actually, that extra gold is in your bank, slowly making you more money, enabling you to go 9 way easier. So in my opinion, fast 9, play around the 1 cost units, level only if you have a strong board and only have like 2-star 1 cost units, and avoid holding and playing these random ass 3 cost units early game. That's the strategy for this meta. Now I'm going to go into the comps. In the S tier, we have 4 different comps. We have the AP variant of Legendary Fast 9. This is the variant you play where you're just playing around Azir, Ornn, and Hui. The AD variant is you're playing around Irelia, Lee Sin, and Wukong. There are also 2 reroll comps that are S tier. It's going to be Reroll Bard and Reroll Aphelios. I think Reroll Aphelios is not as popular, but in my opinion, it's actually just as strong as Bard. In the A tier, we have Mythic Invokers. This caps out at level 8 with 4 Invokers, 5 Mythic, and you have the option of going 9 if you stabilize to cap out with Azir and Hui. We have Fated +1 with the +1 vertical. It's actually S tier in my opinion, but if you don't have the +1, you could just probably play 5 Fated at level 8 to play for top 4. Reroll Ink Shadow. This is good if you have like a low roll opener. You can full open until 3-2, convert an 8th into a 5th. Storyweaver Flex. This is if you're playing Storyweaver and then you're not able to go 9. You just roll down at level 8. Generally, you're probably playing around Galio 2, Morgana 2. Reroll Kogma. This is probably the best 1-cost reroll comp in the game right now. It is especially good because there's one augment called Too Much Candy, which gives you a shit ton of rerolls at level 3. It forces you to play around a 1-cost reroll comp, and this would be the comp you want to play. Reroll Umbral. Good to play if you have like an early game Yone, or if you get Gargantuan Resolve. Yone, Double Titans BT is really, really strong. Probably the best user of that augment. And Reroll Duelists is another really good comp where you have like... Actually, Reroll Duelists, if you get like an early game Volley Bear, you could actually play tempo, streak with it, and then roll down at 3-2 for either 4 or 6 Duelists, streak again, and then still roll at level 7 for 1 and play for top 4. This is going to be the general Econ guide, pretty much the same. Here are going to be the broken openers still. Not much has changed for this. And I did change the augments a little bit. The B patch did change some strength of some of these augments. I have updated it, so take a look. And by the time this video is posted, I am streaming. I would really appreciate you guys dropped by and followed me. And I also have another YouTube channel where I go over VODs of my gameplay and my thought process on what to do on each turn. If you guys enjoyed that, please subscribe to that channel as well. And without further ado, let's jump straight into the comps. So I normally don't talk about early game openers in my flex guide, but in this particular video, I really do want to talk about the Storyweaver opener, because this opener is probably the single most important opener you need to know how to play in the current patch. This opener plays into basically every single S tier comp on the list. You play into it into Fast 9 AP, Fast 9 AD, you play into Reroll Bard from this opener, and you could even play into Reroll Aphelios from this opener. So the units that you want to be looking out for in the early game in this opener are going to be Garen, Sivir, Teemo, Riven, Zyra, and Jax. You play a combination of these 6 units at level 3 and 4, and depending on your items, it determines what comp you want to transition into in the late game. So for example, if you have Gwynsu's Gunblade, you just put it on the Sivir, you have her at item hold for Bard, and then at level 6, you roll down for your 3 mythic, 2 trick shot board with Bard, and then you slow roll at level 7. If you have pure AD items, just stack the Sivir, win streak until level 8, slight roll, and then go fast line, play into AD. And if you have AP items and Morello or blue buff, just stack it on Teemo for now. Again, you go 8, slight roll, and then you go 9, and then you play around Wukong, Hui, Azir with AP items and the blue buff. Pretty straightforward. I think one of the main strengths of this comp is how many options or the amount of outs you have to hit that are available to hit at level 6 when you slight roll. Because at level 6, chances are a lot of times you're sitting on Garen pair, Jax pair, Riven pair, or you're looking for like a second Bruiser, looking for a second Warden, looking for a second Trick Shot, or you have the option to hit 5 Storyweaver. There's so many different things that you could hit at level 6 that guarantees you a spike. So for example, like this is one sample level 6 board you could hit. You could buy all the mythic units and you could hit like a board like this. This is like the transitionary Bard board at level 6. And this, like you just move all your Gwynsu's items onto the Bard and start stacking your mythic. And at level 7, your level 7 reroll Bard board is good to go. Additionally, you could also play into 5 Storyweaver. You have the option of hitting all the Storyweavers at level 6 if you do end up slight rolling and you're playing for a streak. And if you could also play around Soraka as well. So like let's say if you notice like Riven is like a Altruist and Nico is a Heavenly, you could actually drop out of 5 Storyweaver and end up playing Soraka plus another tank unit. So like for example, you don't have a Warden, you just play a second Bruiser, Aatrox, and your board is actually giga broken, and you go straight to 8 with this board by slight rolling. And Zoe, Soraka are both really good candidates to hold all of your AP items as well. And that's why like this early game and mid game board is so broken, because you're guaranteed to have a very, very stable board. At level 8, chances are you might have to slight roll to go 9. So you might end up playing like a board like this. Maybe you roll a little bit to hit Zoe 2, Soraka 2. They're really good candidates to hold AP like I said. And then you ideally want like 1 copy of Galio. This is like a pretty good sample board that's like pretty cheap. You don't need any 2-star 4-cost units. And you could take this board straight to 9 and play into the level 9 boards. Quick note is that like if you're playing Reroll Bard, the Kale thing you want is going to be the attack speed one. And if you're playing Fast 9, you really want the Shred for Kale. And then if you're playing for level 8, like if you're too poor to go 9 and then like the lobby is just super high roll, chances are you have to roll to 0 at 8 and then you roll for like these 4 units, like a combination of all the Sages, all the Heavenly units, all the Altruists, all the Storyweavers, and you play a combination of whatever you 2-star. So like you might not hit the Wukong. You could also like, let's say like you hit Wukong, you play the Wukong. You could also play like a random Rakan if you hit for 2 Dragon Lord. There's like a big combination of different things you can hit. Like if you don't hit Morgana 2, you can temporarily carry the Soraka 2, can't temporarily carry the Zoe 2. If you're playing around the Sivir still, you can play around Kai'Sa for 2 Trick Shot. And this, like if you're playing around a level 8 board and you're trying to cap at level 8, chances are you will bot 4. But like the strength of this comp is trying to go 9. There will be games where you can't go 9, and this could still get you like a 5th or something. I'll go into the level 9 boards later. So in the level 9 AP cap board, your 3 carries are going to be Azir, Hui, and Wukong. Wukong generally likes blue buff Edge of Night +1. Hui likes Shojin +2, and Azir also likes Shojin +2. This is probably the capped version of the board that you always want to strive towards. However, chances are you're not going to be able to get this many games. So there are a few budget versions that you could play as you transition into this comp. So one example is you could play something like this. Have Zoe hold all of your AP items until you hit like the Azir 2, because Zoe 2 is usually stronger than Azir 1. But usually Hui 1 is good enough to hold triple AP items, and chances are you will find one Hui at level 9. So you generally just put all 3 of your AP items on your Hui for now. In this variation, you're just playing 2 Arcanists with Lissandra and Zoe, and you're putting all of your tank items on your Galio and your Rakan as well. The other variation you can play if like you're not hitting like Hui or Azir is you just still play around like the Sages and have Morgana as your main carry. If you're playing around that variant, this is probably like a pretty budget version you could play as well to transition into the level 9 board. Main carry is Morgana, and then you probably play your third Storyweaver is going to be Garen in this case. And you play Alawi for 2 Warden, and it also gives you Ghostly for Morgana as well because she'll spread it the best way. So in the AD Legendary Flex board, it's actually pretty similar to the AP board. The only main difference is that you're basically playing the Aurelia combo instead of the Azir combo. So the Azir combo is Azir, and then you're playing Ornn for Dryad, and then you're playing Udyr for 2 Behemoth. The Aurelia combo is you're playing a second Duelist for Lee Sin, which is Lee Sin, and then you're playing a second Dragon Lord and probably 3 Storyweaver. Itemization wise, blue buff Edge of Night +1 Wukong, Shojin +2 Hui, and then Aurelia really just takes all of your already slammed AD attack speed items on Sivir or Kai'Sa or whoever you had. So for example, GS, Red Buff, Runans is pretty good. Last Whisper, IE, QSS, Morello is fine on Aurelia as well. Pretty much whatever you got. You can't be too greedy with your items. The transitionary board to get to this comp, like let's say you don't hit like Aurelia or something, or don't hit Hui. Let's say you don't hit Hui. That's more realistic. If you don't hit Hui, another variation you could play is something like this, and you could have Soraka hold all of your Hui items instead. This would be like a very budget level 9 board you play until you get to this like late game board. So first reroll comp on the list is going to be Reroll Bard, one of the strongest reroll comps in the current meta. Generally, you play into this comp if you have either a 3 Storyweaver opener with Sivir as your item holder, or if you get like an early game Bard and you have 2 other mythic units at stage 2, so you can start farming those mythic stacks early. At level 6, you almost always want to slight roll until you get Riven, Tahm Kench, Neeko, Bard, Sivir, and Zoe. Soraka goes in at level 7, but these 6 units combined will make a very strong board at level 3-2 and usually wins you from 3-2 all the way until 4-1, or at least saves you a ton of HP. Afterwards, you go 7, you find your Soraka, and you roll down for everything 2-starred, and then you stop rolling once you hit most of your 2-starred. The most important ones are going to be TK2 and Bard 2. Hopefully by then you're going to have 3 item TK, 3 item Bard. Best in slot Bard is going to be Guinsoo's Gunblade +1. Third item could be another Gunblade, it could be another Guinsoo's, it could be GS. If it's not one of those, you just put a random item like Guardbreaker or whatever, something that is not terrible. Tahm Kench just goes really well with 3 tank items. I like Gargoyles, Redemption, Steadfast. These are all pretty good. Adaptive is fine as well. Warmogs is not as good because he already has so much HP. You pretty much just want more defensive stats. Game plan is to just slow roll above 50 gold at level 7. So you go for, the priority here is going to be Bard 3, Tahm Kench 3. Honestly, it's Tahm Kench 3, Bard 3 because the front line here matters the most. And then it would be Soraka and then Zoe. You just put all of your leftover AP items on your Soraka and your Zoe. And in this comp, you really want the attack speed one on Kale. Pretty straightforward comp. After you hit everything, you just push levels. Later on at level 8, you probably play like a random Hui or something. And then by the time that happens, the game is probably already over because you already spent so much money on TK, Bard, Soraka, and Zoe. So the other really broken S-tier reroll comp in the current meta is going to be Reroll Aphelios. This comp is pretty slept on. I think its strength actually rivals Bard and it's way more underplayed. Basically, the game plan is pretty similar. You want to slow roll at level 7 for Aphelios 3 and one of these 3 cost 3 stars. It doesn't matter which one, you kind of just need like some kind of 3-star frontline. So for example, let's say like if you have like 7 Threshes, you probably want to commit to going for Thresh 3. If you have more Alawies, you commit to Alawi 3. And if you have more Moons, you go for Moon 3. And you put all 3 of your tank items on whoever you 3-star. Generally, at level 7, you do want to roll for 2-star everything and 1 copy of Syndra and 1 copy of Ashe. You don't want to focus on itemizing Syndra or Ashe. 3 main damage items on Aphelios and 3 tank items on your main tank. Econ back up until 5-2, and then you full send it for 3-star tank and 3-star Aphelios, and then you push levels. If you have any extra items, then you can put it on your Ashe and Syndra, depending on whoever you 2-star. So chances are, at level 6, you may end up in a situation where like you might want to slight roll. At level 6, a board that can stabilize you is something like this. Maybe like not the Syndra. Instead of the Syndra, you could just play Kindred instead. That way it'll save you a bunch of HP, maybe even win you some fights if you already have the Aphelios. And at level 7, if you don't hit this exact board, you could just play like you'll probably just play like a random Darius or something. Like level 7 is like your level 7 board, and then as you get like these units that you're missing, you can slowly transition into the Aphelios board to stabilize and still roll for the Aphelios 3 and your frontline 3-starred. So on to the level 8 boards. You could play around Syndra as your AP carry at level 8. I would probably only play around Syndra if you get a Fated Spat or an Arcanist Spat. So in the Fated Spat, this would be the exact board I would play, but this does rely on you hitting the set. If you don't hit the set, you can just play like a random Ari or something, and you'll still be able to hit 7 Fated, and you'll still be able to like destroy like a lot of comps because Syndra just goes infinite and heals up your frontline with this setup. Her best in slot is going to be Blue Buff, Gunblade, and Deathcap. Alternatively, you could also sub out Deathcap with something like GS, just because like the current meta, there's going to be so many reroll comps that GS is going to get a ton of value as well. In the other variant, where if you're playing Arcanist +1, then this would be the board that you want to play. Arcanist actually is very, very strong at level 8. The only reason why this board is kind of sus is because it relies on you hitting set for 3 Fated and 2 Warden, and also relies on you hitting the Lissandra for 8 Arcanist as well. So a lot of the times, even though you are playing like the Arcanist +1, you need to high roll like a little bit at level 8 to play around 8 Arcanists. And if chances are, if you're playing around like 6 Arcanists at level 8, there is like a decent chance that you might still bot 4. But if you do hit 8 Arcanists at level 8 like this, your board is actually super, super capped, and you beat out like a lot of the legendary boards as well. Because Syndra just one-shots everything, goes infinite, and heals back your front line. So next reroll comp is going to be Gnar and Senna. This comp is pretty straightforward. I probably would only play this comp if you have like a really shit opener, and then at level 6 you need to find like a comp to stabilize at level 6, and this is uncontested, and you have these specific Gnar and Senna items. Then you can roll down for this exact board and then stabilize at 3-2. Win streak from 3-2 to 4-1, and then you usually slow roll at level 6 above 50 gold for Gnar 3, Senna 3, and these are optional, but you can go for Jax 3, Aatrox 3, Rek'Sai 3, and Caitlyn as well. You don't have to go for all of them, just go for whoever you're closest to, and then after you hit like whoever you're closest to, you just push levels. Best in slot Gnar is going to be Titans BT. He can also do well with other stuff like Hodge, Last Whisper is fine as well, Starix is pretty good as well. Senna, depending on her tattoo of whatever she gets from Ink Shadow. So tattoo of Bombardment, she likes Last Whisper and Gwynsu's, and tattoo of Toxin, she likes Last Whisper IE. Generally, it's just whatever she has plus Last Whisper plus 1 item. And if you don't have like an offensive one for Senna, you just go Last Whisper plus 2 offensive items like Deathblade, Runans, Red Buff, Gwynsu's. They're all pretty good. You could even put Morello on her, but it's not ideal, I would say. And all of your tank items go on whichever tank you 3-star, like Jax, Aatrox, Rek'Sai. So on to Reroll Kog'Maw. You want to play around Reroll Kog'Maw if like in your early game, you get like a ton of Kog'Maws, Malphites, Cho'Gaths, and Caitlyn's in your shop. If you do see them, your game plan is to basically lose the first 5 rounds, and then at level 4, when you're 8 out of 10 EXP, you roll down to 33 gold for Malphite, Cho'Gath, Kog'Maw, and Caitlyn, and then you naturally level to 5 without pumping any EXP at all, and you slow roll above 50 gold. Generally, you want to all in at stage 4-1 for 3-star Kog, Malphite, Cho'Gath, and Caitlyn. You don't have to hit like, I would say like the 2 ones that you do need are Cho'Gath, Kog. These 2 are pretty optional, and then at level 5, you just put in a Nico. Best in slot Kog'Maw is going to be Blue Buff, Gunblade, and Nashers. And Cho'Gath just does very well with any 3 tank items. And once you hit everything, you just push levels, and your level 8 board is going to look like this. You slot in 2 Mythic, Nautilus, Lilia for 5, and then you just play Alawi. And this gives you 2 Arcanists and 2 Warden and 2 Ghostly. If you find a Hui at level 9 or level 8, you just play Hui over Lilia or something, and then you secondary carry the Hui. Reroll Yone is next. I think Reroll Yone is a very good top 4 comp, but only if you play him under like the right conditions. Like you can't really like hard force him and open 4 into him, I think. Just because like the strength of Reroll Yone is his ability to like win all of your fights at stage 2. For example, like if you have like 1 Yone and you have like Titans or sorry, BT early, and you have like a 2 Reaper, 2 Umbral opener, you probably will win like most of your fights just because a 1 copy of Yone is like super strong. Level 6, you can slight roll for like Reaper Umbral board, like maybe like 4 Umbral, 2 Reaper with Yone Kindred. That will stabilize you until level 7, and then at 4-1, you roll down for like a stable board, usually 4 Reaper, 4 Umbral without like Malphite. And then at this level, you slow roll above 50 gold for 3-star Yone, 3-star Alune, and then you pick up all the Silences and the Canes as well. Best in slot Yone is going to be BT, Titans, and QSS. If you get Gargantuan Resolve, I think Yone is actually hard forceable, and you would just go Titans, BT, and Yone just goes infinite. Best in slot Alune is going to be 1 mana item, Morello, and 1 AP item. So in this case, Shojin, Morello, Archangel is pretty good. Silas or Kane just gets all of your leftover AD items. Silas just gets all of your tank items. In this comp, you need some sort of armor shred. So for example, Last Whisper is pretty good on Kane. If you don't have Last Whisper on Kane, you can put like Even Shroud on Silas or something. Worst case scenario, if you don't have like a 3rd item for Yone, you just put like a Last Whisper on your Yone. Once you hit 3-star Yone and 3-star Alune, you just push levels. You also have the opportunity to play into 6 Umbral if you're able to hit level 9. But that's pretty far down the road. Another upgrade you could do is like you could swap out Yorick for Set once you hit him. But otherwise, at level 8, you just play like a second Behemoth. It's either Ornn 2 or Malphite 2. If you don't have Ornn 2, it's you play the Malphite 2. Like if you only have Ornn 1, or if you have the choice between Ornn 1 and Malphite 2, you play the Malphite. Otherwise, if you hit Ornn 2, you just play the Ornn 2. So the other reroll comp you can play in this meta is going to be Reroll Duelists. So Reroll Duelists is actually a comp that you could play extremely aggressive with in the early game. So for example, like if you have like a 2-star Darius, 2-star Yasuo, and like a second Umbral unit, you could like play into like Reroll Duelists. If you have like a 3 Fated opener with Yasuo Darius, you can play into the Duelist opener or Duelist mid game. For Duelists at level 6, you have a very strong power spike if you roll down for 4 Duelists. So let's say like for example at level 6, like you have like a 5 win streak and then you go 6-3-2 and you want to maintain your streak. You just roll down for like Trist, Volibear, Darius, Yasuo 2, and then you just play like a second Umbral unit or like a second Heavenly unit, like if you hit Kiana instead of Volibear. That's a very strong level 6 board, and then you go straight to 7 and then slow roll for this exact board, Volibear 3 Trist 3. Volibear's best in slot is going to be BT Titans, and then Tristana really just likes your traditional like AD items. She likes being in the second row here because she just jumps in and then jumps back out, and she's back to like full HP with Gunblade. She really likes AD items, GS, Gunblade, Last Whisper, IE is good, Runans is good, Hodge is good. Pretty flexible with her items as well. I think the true strength to this comp is if you get like a Duelist emblem. So if you get a Duelist emblem, I would say like just hard force like the Duelist comp. The reason why Duelist emblem is so broken is because at level 6, at 3-2, when you roll down, you could hit 6 Duelists without hitting the Lee Sin. Lee Sin is a 4 cost, so he's super hard to hit. You just Duelist spat the Diana, and then you have 6 Duelists, and you're stable guaranteed all the way until stage 4. The Duelist +1 is also good because it gives your late game Duelist comp like a very high cap. For example, at level 8, if you hit Aurelia, this would be like your level 8 board, and then you actually like could top 2 like a lot of your games if you hit Volley 3, Trist 3. But yeah, this is the Duelist comp. Alright guys, so this sums up my flex guide for patch 14.6b. If you guys enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel or followed me on Twitch. And again, I have another YouTube channel where I go through my VODs of my thought process as I play my game. So if you guys like that, feel free to subscribe to that channel as well. And I will see you guys next time.